as far as supporting each other in this experience, I felt like because there was this chain, it wasn't like the three of us were together, that mom had to support dad and I had to help support mom. And then my wife would help support me. And not to say mom didn't support me and my wife supported mom and all that, but it did feel, because we had that kind of breakdown, not breakdown, but break up of visitation or whatever, that's the way we had to figure out to navigate it, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, and I wanted Aidan to know everything that I knew and to be part of any decisions. And there were many points during that 5 months where things happened. I mean, if something could go wrong, it went wrong. John had a heart attack. He had pneumonia. He had all kinds of complications that we didn't expect to have happen. I mean, we thought, he had a brain injury, he had surgery, and we were waiting to see if he would recover from that. But he developed a whole host of other health problems. And I needed to be able to share that with Aidan, to feel like I wasn't making decisions on my own. And there were points, particularly towards the last several months and then ultimately at the end, where we had to decide if we were going to let him go or not, because he was on a ventilator the whole time, not breathing on his own. So, at any point, we could have said, okay, this is enough. And I think the doctors would have said, fine. They felt that was a reasonable decision. But we both had so much hope and so much love for John that, we really didn't give up, didn't want to give up until there was absolutely no choice. And the doctor said to us, he's going to die within the next 12 to 24 hours. And then, Aidan came and we were both there with him when that happened, so we could say goodbye to him together. But I think, being able to rely on Aidan, even though he couldn't be there with me, like we talked every day, I needed him to be as much a part of it as I was.
Yeah, well, and we found ways. We couldn't physically be there, but we found every way we possibly could to come together. So we would do video, mom would have an iPad,
Yeah.
and we would do video calls with dad. And by the point where you could sort of communicate with him, he could mouth certain things. There were things like, you could say, and we were never really sure of where the cognitive function was, because he never got to a point where, he could speak clearly. But, you would say, I love you, and he would say, I love you back. And his personality still shined through. He would tell the nurse to F off, which was very much his personality. That was a big moment of kind of excitement for us, because it was like, you have to explore every avenue, I think. When someone's sick, and especially when someone's dealing with a traumatic brain injury, you have to say, okay, if he gets better, but he's at this point, what do we do? If he gets better, he's at this point, what do we do? What would he want to do? That was always a point of the conversation, is what would
Yeah.
dad want? He was very stubborn, so it was sometimes easier to know what he would want. But we would set up video calls where we could chat with him, and we would tell him what was going on. And just so, even if we didn't have anything to say, just to hear, my voice and all our voices together. And you know what, you would notice sometimes, and maybe it's in your own head, but it would feel like it would make a difference, because there'd be moments where, his eyes weren't always focused on something, but he would look at the camera for a bit. And you go, okay, I feel like I've connected with him. In whatever way that means to him, it doesn't almost means less of how he's interpreting the connection than how we're interpreting the connection, because we are so limited in what we can do for him right now. We need to feel some sort of connection. So we're saying, oh, he's listening to us, whether he is or isn't, was beneficial.